The Astors do not make the task of investigating them easy. They have been very secret and very deceptive since they arrived in this nation. John Jacob Astor, the first prominent Astor, was a notorious liar. He was known on occasion to invent romantic tales for the edification of people who annoyed him with questions. Men who knew him best were, therefore, neither ready to discredit completely all legends about his exploits, nor to repeat them as gospel. The truth, they suspected, lay somewhere between the two extremes. Terrell John Upton, First by Astor, page 102.
Even though the Astor family came up with different origins for themselves, it is a very strong possibility that the Astors originated from the Astoga family in southern Italy before the 1600s. The meaning of these two names comes from the mother of the occult, Astarte. She is also known as Cimmerius or Isis. John Jacob Astor, the founder of the Illuminati family bloodline, the Astors, was born in Waldorf Duchy of Baden, Germany, in 1763, and is from a Jewish Ashkenazi bloodline. Before leaving Germany for England and America in 1784, John Astor was a butcher for his family business. John Jacob Astor was considered the brightest and most promising son and was sent to America, the New World, by his family to start their rise in the social arena, in occult rankings, in leadership, and to become a financial powerhouse.
He concentrated almost entirely on building a fortune, on escaping the poverty of his childhood and establishing a secure financial position for his family in America. Michael Astor, Tribal Feeling, page 11.
Not long after John Jacob Astor arrived and settled in America, he became a Freemason of the prominent Holland Lodge No. 8 in New York City. Holland Lodge has strong connections to the Illuminati elite. He was a very active Freemason and held many key positions in secret lodge life. In 1788, he became the Master of Lodge No. 8. He was a Grand Treasurer of the Grand Lodge of New York between 1796 and 1801. He became Junior Grand Warden on 2 occasions in 1796 and in 1801, and was Secretary of the Commandery, formerly called Encampments. John Jacob Astor's first financial breakthrough was through some underhanded real estate dealings in New York City. In 1807, when America had an embargo on ships sailing goods to the country, President Jefferson and Secretary Gallatin granted John Astor special privileges to sail his cargo ships of goods, furs, to the States. With Britain embargoed, Astor had no competition. He made a profit of $200,000 because of this privilege. Astor also made lots of money from the War of 1812 because it crippled almost all American ships, and also because he sent agents to the British forts in Canada to inform them when America declared war on Britain. This gave the British advanced knowledge of the war before the American soldiers knew. This allowed the British to seize Northern American forts, which ensured that the British had control of the region's fur trade. This was the key to Astor gaining control over the fur industry. He also used this privilege to illegally trap new fur. After the war, he baited everybody to England for his furs, in which he made loads of cash. In return, to make his name right, John Astor informed D.C. about a mutiny at a British fort. This allowed the U.S. Army to take advantage of the enemy's compromised condition, which allowed them to capture the area.
John Astor got involved with the fur trade prior to 1817, where he became the top player until 1834, when he decided to get out of the business. He pushed everybody else out, built a monopoly, and virtually owned the whole fur industry through deceptive dealings. When employees of John Jacob Astor would trap or trade furs with the Astor fur houses, they would be paid with letters of credit. Astor then sent agents to ambush and then murder them so that the Astor Fur Company could save money. The deaths were blamed on Indians. John Jacob Astor is the founder of the American Fur Company and the Pacific Fur Company. President Zachary Taylor stated this about the Big Fur Company. Take the American Fur Company in the aggregate, and they are the greatest scoundrels the world ever knew. Harvey O'Connor, The Astors, page 44. Astoria, Oregon was created from Astor's Fur Company, in which it became a major breeding ground for secret satanic covens in the state of Oregon. He also made money by working with Illuminati member George Clinton on land deals. John Astor joined the opium trade, but quit by 1818. The Astor family was the first American family to get into the opium trade. They had special privileges in the opium trade, which made many other American businesses to not even try to compete. John Coleman, The Conspirators' Hierarchy, The Story of the Committee of 300, page 131. John Jacob Astor made a huge fortune out of the China opium trade. It was the Committee of 300 who chose who would be allowed to participate in the fabulously lucrative China opium trade. Through its monopolistic BEIC, and the beneficiaries of their largesse remained forever wedded to the Committee of 300.
John Coleman, an intelligence agent, had access to secret documents where he found out that John Jacob Astor was a British secret agent. Take note that the British intelligence works for the top 13 bloodlines and the Committee of 300. John Astor bought large amounts of land in New York City, in which increased in value, and during the financial crisis of 1837, Astor foreclosed on a vast amount of mortgages. This single act skyrocketed Astor's wealth. Astor became a banker and sat on the board of 5 directors of the Bank of the United States, in which President Hamilton created for the U.S. government, and he also owned large amounts of stock in this bank. Astor did have help. He had 3 family members that were captains of clipper ships, which had connections to the Backhouse family in London, who were the leading house in the lucrative fur trade. Astor then married a Todd, Sarah Todd. This family is associated with Satanism and connected to the Brevoort family. John Jacob Astor was known to be cold-hearted, a ruthless landlord, banker, and businessman with no scruples, charm, wit, or grace.
This quote comes even from a relative of the DuPont family who wrote a sympathetic biography entitled The Astor Family. If this man lacked social graces and was so cold and was so poor during his first years in the U.S., why did he rise to such prominence in Freemasonry? Gustavus Myers, History of the Great American Fortunes, London, Stationers Hall, 1909, page 147, said, statistics issued in 1844 of manufacturers in the United States showed a total gross amount of $307,196,844 invested. Astor's wealth then was 1/15 of the whole amount invested throughout the territory of the United States.
John Astor became known as the richest man in America. After making a fortune in New York, the Astor family moved to England. They still had substantial financial power in the U.S. through proxies. In November 1889, Forum magazine said that the Astors were worth $300,000. That was a major underestimation. Today, the Astor family is worth over $40 billion. With the creation of the Vincent Astor Foundation, which is controlled from England, has around 100 million tax-exempt dollars. This foundation also gives to Catholic, the Mother Harlot, and Episcopalian needs, agencies that oppose private gun ownership, and to the New York Public Library.
In 1901, the Astors contributed to the creation of the Pilgrim Society, which is used as a cover organization for America's and the Britain's six-degree princes of the Illuminati. It is the British equivalent to Skull and Bones. In 1910, the Illuminati Round Table was created. The Astors backed it financially. In 1919, the Royal Institute of International Affairs, the RIIA, was created and backed financially by the Astors. It operates as a fourth-degree cover of the Illuminati. The RIIA is the British equivalent to the Council on Foreign Relations, the CFR.
The Astors were also behind the appeasement policy in Europe that allowed Hitler to become a threat. They were also involved in the temperance movement against alcohol, which was started by the Christian Temperance Union. It is no coincidence that the Illuminati family bloodlines made major money off of the temperance movement by bootlegging. This is how the satanic Illuminati bloodline family, the Astors, rose to power. Just as the other bloodline families, the Astors are looking to unleash the New World Order on the mundane.